everyone, and welcome to another edition of Head On. Tonight we're going to talk about building homes, building neighborhoods, and building communities. And on set, we're very happy to have the Executive Director of Habitat for Humanity here on the Central Vancouver Island. Welcome, Rob Hallam.
Thank you. Pleased to be here.
Thank you so much. Habitat for Humanity has been doing wonderful work here in the Central Vancouver Island region since 1994. And let's talk a little bit about why Habitat? Why do we need Habitat for Humanity in this day and age?
Well, I think that Habitat really serves a very important niche, which is focused on families that would not otherwise be able to qualify for a conventional mortgage, and it helps them find a way to become homeowners. And home ownership, the whole essence of home ownership really is so critical to the health and stability of a family and their livelihood and their longevity as a family unit. And so it really serves an interesting purpose, I think. And if you think of the continuum of say, from homelessness and then moving beyond that, we're filling that sort of upper end of unconventional approaches to home ownership, but very much focused on families who have the ability to pay. One of the great myths about Habitat is that we give homes away free, and that's just not the case. But our families do have to qualify for their involvement with us financially, and then there's special conditions by which they get their home. So the three real big conditions are that there's no mortgage. There's no interest on the mortgage. It's an interest-free mortgage. There's no down payment, which of course is a huge barrier for many people.
Especially in this market.
Absolutely, yes. And in addition to that, they have to provide 500 sweat equity hours of work. And sweat equity, absolutely. And so some of them, there's a variety of ways that they can choose to fulfill that requirement. Some of them actually help on the building of their home or somebody else's home.
Like boots on the ground,
absolutely, hammers, painting, landscaping, a variety of different things. And then, of course, we have our wonderful Restore, which is very much dependent upon volunteers. So again, they can use a Restore to fulfill the need for those hours.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So let's just sort of work backwards a bit. 16 homes have been built here in Nanaimo, or the Nanaimo area,
yes,
since 1994, serving 19 families.
That's correct.
That's like one family a year has been benefited from this program, which is fantastic. And as you say, home. What a wonderful four-letter word.
Yes.
You know, without that sense of home, your personal security, your comfort, your ability to learn, your ability to integrate into the community really is limited. And so this, by doing what you're doing with Habitat for Humanity, is really, really helping to build a really healthy weave into our community, to have people have that home ownership, the pride of ownership, to feel invested here. So hats off to you and all the work that you do there at Habitat for Humanity. But how does a family qualify to be a Habitat family? And I understand this is very timely because there's a deadline coming up here for the next homes.
Yeah, great question. So we're about to begin building our next 2 homes. We have a strata development of 6 homes off of Extension Road in South Nanaimo. And we've built phase 1, which was 2 homes, and we put 2 families in there in August. And we're about to go into the ground in November to begin building the next 2 homes. So as we begin the building process, we're also, of course, looking for the families who will become the new homeowners. And so we have a process of application for that. There's income requirements, and so we are looking at families that are earning between $38,000 and $55,000 a year. And they need to then be able to commit to doing the 500 sweat equity hours that we just talked about. And there's a number of other criteria that we look at. It's a very rigorous process because, of course, we want to ensure that we're choosing the families that will avail themselves of this incredible opportunity and really make the best of it, right?
What a wonderful opportunity.
Yes.
How, I'm sure there'll be a stampede of people, coming to your website to learn how to apply after this, especially, as I say, in this this market. But it's interesting that, I mean, there is a minimum requirement of a steady income to come in.
Absolutely.
So the ability to pay a mortgage,
Yes.
although it's interest-free and no down payment.
Right, and the other interesting aspect of how we deal with the families financially is unlike a conventional mortgage where you go to a bank and you get a fixed term, 5 years, typically, or whatever it may be. We don't put terms on our mortgages. What we do instead is on a yearly basis, we look at the family's income and we then adjust the mortgage to the income level with a cap of 30%. And so what's being determined is that to make sure the family can sustain themselves and thrive, that their total housing costs should not exceed 30% of their gross family income. And so we evaluate that every year. And so one of the great examples, I think, of how this it finds its way into really helping a family, we had a young family, a young mother, a single mom, 2 kids, and we evaluate these mortgages on a yearly basis in June. And she came to us and she said, you know, I've been working, but I really want to do something more career-wise, and I want to go back to school. And I found this program I want to go to. It's 14 months, but I have to reduce my hours of work, take out a student loan, and we need to, is it possible to talk about my mortgage? And we said, absolutely. And so we took her mortgage payments down significantly so that she could, through just this short period of time, have this wonderful opportunity to go back to school with the expectation, of course, that when she comes back into the workforce, she'll have a much better job, and we'll reevaluate her mortgage at that time, and undoubtedly it will go up. And so it's really great. So, and over a period of time, of course, they will take ownership of the homes if they're in them long enough and paying the mortgage.
So these mortgages are typically what, 20 years?
Well, we don't put a fixed term on because they're flexible because of this component of readjusting every year. We have mortgages right now where some of the families will have paid them out in 20 years, and others where it might take 40. So there's, again, a high degree of flexibility, and very much trying to meet the needs of the family and be as flexible as possible.
What's the typical size of the home you build? 3-bedroom? 4-bedroom?
Well, that's one of the unique and wonderful things about this new development we're doing. That the affiliate Habitat here in mid-Vancouver Island had, for the most part, built quite smaller properties. So 2-bedroom, a few 3-bedroom, but very much for a smaller family unit. And it became very apparent that there were larger families that we weren't serving. And so this development will have in it, the first phase with the 2 homes we just built was 1 3-bedroom, 1 4-bedroom. The next phase that we're doing with these 2 new homes will be each 4 bedrooms, which is fantastic.
Wonderful, wonderful.
And the final phase will have a 3-bedroom, and then we've wanted to put in a handicapped home, so it'll be just a 2-bedroom, but it'll be just a 1-story rancher. Yes, very accessible.
And I believe, Rob, we've got a few photos of the Habitat home that you're referring to. Dax, if we can just cue those photos. There's the...
so that's one of the wonderful aspects of Habitat for Humanity. We have these what are called corporate build days. And so these are volunteers, and they came for a landscape day in August. And they arrived, and of course it was a job site. Just the earth was there and nothing other than these 2 new homes. And so in the course of a day, we laid sod, we planted trees, and when they left, it looked fantastic.
Wow.
We converted this rather ugly looking landscape into something that was really very, very desirable. So this is a way in which the community can get involved with us and really participate. And those are the 2 homes. The 4-bedroom is on the right and the 3-bedroom on the left. So really fantastic looking, beautiful homes, very welcoming for the families.
Very nice. And then we've got this is the Meadow Hill development.
That's a schematic. We saw, we just saw the 2 homes that were built are the 2 on the bottom left. Okay. And what we're about to build are the 2 that are shaded in yellow. And those are the 2 4-bedroom homes that we're about to begin building.
Beautiful. And Rob, how long does it take from breaking ground to moving in?
Well, that's a bit of a moving target, and unlike a general contractor who wants to purchase a piece of land and get a building permit and put a home up as quickly as possible so that he can then sell it and move on, we have one of our requirements is we use volunteers in the build process, and so that can slow us down a bit. And one of the absolutely unique relationships and partnerships we have here is with Vancouver Island University, and we use students from their trades program. And so we provide them actually with a living classroom, and the students come out to the build site, and they're a variety of trades from framing to the yep, exactly. And so I think we're actually accessing about 6 or 7 various trades program with these students coming out and helping us. And we estimate that on average for a home, we've got about 5,000 student hours of involvement in a home. So it's
So
great.
these are students that from VIU that aren't apprentices yet, but it's part of the learning program
That's
from these
correct.
various trades, electricians,
Yes.
food services, probably coming out to feed the crew.
No, we haven't had food service. I think actually food services, I believe, I'm, as you know, relatively new to Habitat here, but I believe in the past they might have baked some cakes for when we have celebrations.
There you
But
go,
yeah,
for the
so,
grand
exactly, yes.
But all the building trades are
Yes,
represented there.
yeah, it's fantastic.
That's wonderful. So your sponsors in the community, talk to us a bit about that. Have you got a lot of the contractors here in the local community also assisting?
Well, they are, and one of the things that again is unique to a Habitat build is not only do we have relationships with the local sponsor, local trades, and one of our mandates is to, when we have to engage and pay for labor, that we actually use local labor all the time, and any kind of materials that we require is always local. And so we've got some very, very generous suppliers and trades people who work with us, give us discounts, contribute materials and time in a really meaningful way. It's fantastic. In addition to that, we're part of Habitat Canada, and they're a national office, and they go out and on the behalf of the 56 affiliates across Canada, they speak to larger national organizations. And so, for instance, we will get all of our drywall donated, and that's being donated across Canada. And so there's a means whereby we can access that to bring into Nanaimo for our build. All of the appliances, for instance, on the 2 homes we just finished were supplied through this means as well. So it's a great way in which we can, again, keep our costs down and use some donated materials. The other myth I must say about that comes up with Habitat builds is that, you know, we have this wonderful restore, and that people think that we use the donated goods in the restore to build the homes, and that's not true. Everything we use on site, of course, is new and to building code standards, et cetera. So.
And so the homes aren't furnished. The appliances, as you say, are provided,
That's
but the
correct.
family provides all the
Yes.
internal comforts
Yes, that's very
for the home.
Yes.
So the Restore, which is a huge hit here in Nanaimo, I mean, the place is busy all the time.
Yes.
And not only are you, is that a huge fundraiser for Habitat, but it's also keeping so much out of the landfill that would otherwise be, you know, lost, and
Yes.
you're repurposing a lot of this. Talk to us about some of the volunteer opportunities at the Restore itself. What could viewers get involved in if they wanted to?
Sure. Well, we're looking for people all the time, and we use volunteers in virtually every aspect of the store. And so we might want to think of it in sort of two sort of entities with the store. One is at the back end where the goods come in at the back, and we have volunteers there helping to refurbish things. So, for instance, we've got an individual who is the lighting guy, and we've got somebody else who's the plumbing guy, and they'll come in for a certain number of hours and days a week, and their sole responsibility and their sole interest is to refurbish the lighting materials or the plumbing that comes in. And so they're looking at cleaning things up, making sure they work, and all those kind of, you know, whatever needs to be done to make something as repurposed as possible and as sellable as possible, of course. And so then the goods are put out on the floor, and then of course we need on the floor people helping with merchandising and doing the actual sales of the goods.
And so all those goods that you have, that you're reselling there in the Restore, have all been checked out by people who are professional in their trades. So this is wonderful for anybody at home doing a DIY to come down, check out what you might have there that they could repurpose and use in their own homes.
Absolutely. You know, and to your point, I can't, it would be impossible, I think, to quantify accurately, but literally tons of material that would be in the landfill if it wasn't for a Restore. And there's been some attempt to try and calculate that across Canada, and it's just astronomical numbers. So from an environmental perspective, it's just the byproduct of the Restore is just really fantastic.
Yeah, that is. And Rob, the Restore will also come and pick up items, I think, as
We
well.
will. Yes, just give us a call and we will be there to...
Called a retruck.
Yeah, exactly, yes.
That's great. So used washers, dryers,
Yes.
things like that. Even
Yes, we don't take clothing, but we take, we'd like to describe them as gently used household goods, construction goods. And, you know, for some things we for instance, we'll occasionally get something that really we just can't accept. And so, you know, I think there's some understanding for people that as to what it is that we require. And
put your husband on that truck.
no, you can't. No. I'm sure
You
that
have your limits.
we have our limits. Yes.
Unless he's going to give some sweat equity.
Well, exactly. Yes. work in the Restore to pay his way out. Exactly. Yes.
Exactly. So what other volunteer opportunities with Habitat other than at the Restore and on the building sites? Fundraising, are you looking for people to help with that at all? Or
We're just yes, we're just really starting to re-examine all of our needs on the volunteer side, and so right now the two focuses are on the Restore and on the build, and undoubtedly there will be other opportunities as well as we explore those and explore what our needs are. But for now, that's our real priorities. So. And let me just say one other thing about the Restore, which I'm not sure people understand either. So the proceeds from the Restore, it's a wonderful model whereby the proceeds pay for all of our overhead. And so one of the unique things about Habitat is that I think everybody's very much aware that to raise money from a fundraising perspective, it costs you money to do that. You know, you've got staff, you've got materials, and there's, you know, a certain percentage of the funds raised are a cost. Well, one of the great things about Habitat is we can say when we ask somebody for a donation that in fact 100% of that donation goes towards the build, because we have this wonderful social enterprise, the Restore, which is covering off all those costs. And you know, we want to make sure that people understand that to fundraise, it does cost money to do so. We simply have found a way through this model to cover that off. And so the message to our donors is such a powerful one that, you know, 100% of what you give is directly going to those builds.
That's powerful.
It is.
Yeah. And the Restore in Nanaimo was the very first Restore in Canada.
No, it was
2001. It was the first in BC.
in the first. Yes, I
Yes.
think so. Yes.
I just checked my
Yes.
little crib notes here. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the
2000.
first Restore in Canada was in Winnipeg, I believe.
Okay.
Yes.
And there's 100 Restores across Canada now. So, again, talking about that green model, look at all the things that are being saved from the
Exactly.
landfill
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
and being repurposed and reused and resold. So
Yes.
that's fantastic. So the deadline is the 21st of November, I think, for the application process for the
For
next
new families.
new
Yes,
families.
yes.
Now, Rob, after a family has lived in a home for, you know, a certain number of years, let's say the family grows and expands, that house becomes too small, they are free to move on to a different home, not necessarily a Habitat home,
Right.
but they're not locked in for life, shall we say,
No,
into
they're
that.
not. And I won't go into all the details because it gets a little complicated, but there is a financial model associated with the mortgage whereby absolutely they have a means whereby they can leave the home, sell it, and there's, as I say, there's various criteria around that, but there's no way that we're locking them into to this in any way whatsoever. Right. So it's again, it's a way whereby families can, if their situation changes, they want to move on. There's a way to do that.
That's fantastic. So the next, how many homes have you got like in your 10-year plan for the
Well, that's a good question. I don't have a definitive answer to that other than a whole lot more than what we've been doing. So, I think one of the exciting things
is pretty good.
Well, yes, but when you look at the need in the community, I think, and the other thing too is that these affiliates across Canada are geographically determined, and so our affiliate actually goes all the way from Mill Bay to Parksville and all the way out to Ucluelet, and so we cover a fairly vast area, clearly of the Mid-Island, and to date we've, other than building in Nanaimo, we've built one in Ladysmith and one in Parksville. So one of my real desires is to see us building a little bit broader afield, perhaps in Port Alberni and Duncan. Clearly need in both of those communities that I'm sure we could help serve the families there. So it isn't for lack of, I think, need in the community. It's a matter of us finding the resources to make sure that we can continue to build and build even more than what we have been.
So, Rob, if a family from Port Alberni was interested in one of the Habitat homes that you're building, are they free to apply if they can relocate?
Well, one of the conditions that we have is we want the family to have been in the community where we're building for at least a year. And I think that has to do with stability around schools and just understanding the community. And frankly, I don't quite know the answer to that question because we have this independent committee that is involved in the actual family selection process. And they could very easily, depending upon the strength of the application, say, yeah, a family could move from Port Alberni into Nanaimo. And that might work. Of course, jobs and those kinds of things, because we want to see stability in income from the family, and certainly a stable job is part of that equation. So we would look at it on a case-by-case basis. Of course, the very best would be as if we were building a house in Port Alberni, and then, of course, we would absolutely welcome that kind of application.
And what if a family has had the unfortunate experience of having gone through bankruptcy at some point? Would that prohibit them from applying, or?
Doesn't prohibit them. We certainly we put the families through a pretty grueling financial analysis of their history, their obligations, et cetera, and that would certainly come up in our review. And again, we would be looking at that particular family and their needs and how capable they were of moving forward financially, and that would be valued or evaluated against the other families that we're applying. One of the things that we do, and we will be doing more of, is really assisting the families from an education perspective. So these are families who've never had a mortgage before. They've never been homeowners. Even things like, well, cleaning out your gutters in the fall. I mean, if all you've done is rented through your history, your life history, and suddenly you're responsible for those kinds of things. So there's an education component that's very important to us as well.
So, Rob, as part of being a Habitat family, then, for lack of a better word, are the homes inspected on a regular basis to make sure that maintenance is taking place?
No,
that's the screening process. You get the right people in.
Exactly. We have, I think, a condition of our mortgage that we want to ensure that the yards and the exterior of the homes are well kept. And I think the reason that's there, at least I would assume the reason it's there, is simply most people in the community will know that's a Habitat home. And of course, we have a pride about what we do, and we want to make sure that the family who's in the home is making sure that there's a standard that is kept up, and that the Habitat name is seen to be very positive within the community.
Very nice. And Habitat International, what was the stat here? Something like 800,000 homes have been built around the world through Habitat Humanity International. And again, assisting over 4 million people with those homes. That's huge.
It is huge.
What we're doing here on the island is just, contributing to that as well, and contributing to building our community, our healthy community here on the island. And Rob, how long have you been executive director here?
Almost 6 months.
There you go. Yes. You're certainly hitting the ground running with all these new builds that you're doing.
Well, it's exciting, and I'm thrilled to be part of Habitat, of course, and we've got some great intentions for the future. So.
Very good. And there's a lot of volunteer opportunities. Any of our viewers that are interested in volunteering, we've got your website up on the screen and a phone number there. And also for the Restore, there's a number there people can call if they want anything picked up. And we encourage people to go down to the Restore and make some purchases there as well.
It really is a chance to have a little treasure hunt, actually, to come into the Restore, yes.
The Nanaimo pickers.
Yes.
Yeah. So best of luck in the selection process for your next couple of families.
Thank you.
And when do you break sod for the next home?
We're just sort of getting that on the calendar. It looks like November 10th.
November 10th.
Yes. So
it's just around the corner.
it is. It's coming fast. Yes.
And when will the lucky families know? How long is that selection process?
They should know sometime early mid-January, I would anticipate. So
good.
yes.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Rob, again for coming in.
It's been great.
And we congratulate you and Habitat for Humanity for the great work that you're doing here locally and also internationally. And we look forward to having you on for the next build that you're going to do and the next land that you're going to purchase. And maybe we'll come out there for the sod breaking and the welcome home for the new family.
That'd be exciting.
That would be.
Yes.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. And thank you for joining us on this edition of Head On. And if you have any comments or questions or topic ideas, please email our executive producer, Melissa Hall, and her email's there on the screen. Thanks again for joining us, and we'll see you next time on Head On.